Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a special Voice of the Customer segment on AWS On Air. I'm your host, Nathan Peck. Today, I'm joined by two wonderful guests who are going to walk us through something that they've built on AWS. Why don't you introduce yourself, Alex?
Hi there, my name is Alex O'Connor. I'm a Senior Manager for Data Science and Machine Learning in our Autodesk Digital Experience and Customer Empowerment Group.
And Yazal?
Hello, I am Yusel Vizcarra, and I'm a Senior Data Scientist at Autodesk, a design and make company.
Okay, so I've heard of Autodesk before. I'm familiar with it being sort of a 3D design studio, helps you do CAD, rendering, all kind of amazing things. Am I getting that right? Tell me a little bit more about Autodesk and what it does for me.
Yeah, that's pretty on point. We actually span across architecture, engineering, construction, design and manufacturing, and entertainment. It's a pretty large customer base.
So I can imagine. I see a lot of different verticals there. I see a lot of different customers, a lot of different customer experiences. This is probably a piece of software that has a lot of features, has a lot of folks using it, who have a lot of feedback, a lot of thoughts about the product. Tell me a little bit about how you tame that and what you've built to make Autodesk better for everyone.
Most certainly. So as you said, we get a ton of feedback coming in from customers anytime there's a new feature released at global launch. So essentially when products get new versions every year. Additionally, there is large events like Autodesk University that happens on a yearly basis as well. And there's so many incoming topics with customers spanning across many different disciplines and opinions. So through this kind of avenue, using the listening post, we were able to aggregate that feedback in order to get some information from them.
Okay, interesting. I like the way this is sounding. So it sounds like you have a tremendous incoming stream of data about the product, feedback about different product experiences. What were really your challenges with handling that, and what problems do you have to solve for your engineering team who's actually building the Autodesk product?
Many times as new features were released, people have a desire for real-time customer feedback. There is, or oftentimes when like engineering teams hear of a bug, they also want to know that they want to be aware of bugs as they come up or as they're fixed. Also how large they span, right? So one of the biggest challenges is trying to understand like where customers are connecting with us, right? Through mediums where we could look through and sort out, but also not having enough people to be able to sort through that feedback. Product teams have bugs that they need to focus on, and then you have other teams trying to understand what the customers are saying, but they might not necessarily understand the technical language across these bugs. And it might be something that they see customers talk about and not understand that it's an issue that needs to be brought up. So there is a loss of key feedback, and then essentially like inefficient use of time by having someone go sorting through to find these issues, right?
It makes total sense to me. You essentially have the Firehose there, and different engineering teams want to just take a little sip of information that's relevant to them out of that Firehose, but they don't want to be overwhelmed with all the data. So tell me more about what you built and what AWS services were able to help make this situation better.
Yeah. We built something we refer to as a listening post kind of platform where we're able to essentially at scale look through customer feedback by allowing teams like the product teams within Autodesk to customize their own kind of keywords that they want to sort through. So an example of that would be, let's say there's a new product feature being released, right? And they want to know how that's being perceived by the end customer. The product team can actually sort out like keywords like product feature or 2022 or 2023. And then as customers kind of input this information through our Autodesk community forums, we're able to kind of sort through that at scale and be able to aggregate that information and pass that on to a method of communication that our internal teams already use. So they don't really have to go anywhere to kind of sort through this information. If there is a keyword matching detection tool, and this enables the product teams to be able to find the feedback that they're looking for.
That sounds super nice useful. I can already imagine, like, I know that in many cases, like working on different products, I've seen feedback comes in for a really old version of the software that maybe one particular customer is stuck on for some reason. They're not ready to move on. And maybe you need a way to carve that out and say, I only want to receive the feedback about this keyword for this particular latest version of the application, or something like that. Like, disregard the feedback on that 3 versions old version, because I know that there's some negative feedback on there. So giving people the tools to kind of make their own stream, that sounds amazing.
One nice feature of it as well is as the teams kind of look through the forums and look through the channels, if they notice that the customers are expressing their problem in a new way, they can rapidly respond to that. Because sometimes we get a symptom that we hear of rather than a root cause, or sometimes we get some other way that a problem can manifest, and being able to calculate the sort of, or get a picture of the impact of that in more real time than having to look backwards across data forensically is a big advantage to teams when they can do that.
Makes sense to me. So which AWS services did you utilize in building this particular pipeline solution?
I think at the heart of it all is the AWS Lambdas, essentially. We built a pipeline that includes other tools like API Gateway, essentially like Amazon Kinesis Data Firehose, like S3 and AWS Glue. But at the heart of it is definitely the AWS Lambdas and SNS topics. As we built these pipelines, we're able to kind of customize the different models that we want behind this product into the Lambdas and push that data towards the preferred platform for our end users.
That makes sense. You mentioned earlier about different Autodesk events happening. So I can imagine Lambdas providing, serverless auto scaling there. You don't have to worry about provisioning a certain amount of capacity for all the feedback that's going to come in around a new product launch, or a particular event that's going to happen that's going to bring a lot of people into Autodesk.
That's correct. And it also allows us to kind of build very seamlessly different types of topics for all the different requests that are coming in.
Okay, so basically you can deploy more of these as needed for different types of topics, and horizontally as well as vertically scale it.
That's right.
Wow, that's
especially
awesome.
For different combinations of channels and for different specific requirements around like parts of forums or other things like that. So there's a real opportunity to customize that for teams.
And I imagine because serverless scales down to 0, that also means that if there is one particular thing that a team is trying to monitor, which doesn't get very much feedback, it's not costing money all the time. It's only the Lambda is only going to be invoked when a particular keyword goes across the pipeline, targeting that specific thing they're trying to monitor. That's excellent. So tell me a little bit about the final results of this. After you built and deployed this, what did it do for your team and for your engineers?
When we first originally deployed this, I think we were targeting like rising issues, right? Let's say there was urgency to understand kind of a customer feedback that was very recurrent. So let's say like COVID when the pandemic hit. And originally, we didn't have enough people to be on the floor to be able to be sorting through this feedback. But as we started deploying one version and then eventually through different iterations, we were able to really reduce that inefficiency from specific teams in order for them to focus on the right problems. So they didn't necessarily need to sort through data anymore, but they would be able to get alerts and focus on fixing the issues or responding to customers much more quickly, which was very positively received by the Autodesk community as a whole. And it also enabled product teams to be able to detect kind of rising issues, but it like encourage that customer base to provide more and more feedback as we move forward.
Well, that sounds amazing. Thank you so much for telling us the story about how AWS helped you build this service for Autodesk. Thank you for being on the show, and we'll move on now to the next segment of AWS on Air. Thank you.